Hello and welcome to another Fusion 360 tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to cover editing tools in the sketch menu. We're going to cover most of them. We're going to skip sketch scale and project and include and do those in our own video due to they're just too much information for this video. So we're going to start with fillet. Fillet, it creates it rounds corners. That's the best way to describe it. So let's get two lines here. Just do there, nothing too fancy. Now if we want to make this corner rounded, select fillet, select the first line, select the second line, and that red line appears on the first line, and then on the second line it turns blue. We can drag it out and we can make it, visually appealing, or we could specify a radius. If I needed a 1.125 radius, there we go. And it tells you everything you need here. Our next editing tool is trim, and you probably already guessed, but it trims lines. So let's say that we didn't want these two lines here. Easy enough. Go to trim, and then whatever we click on, whatever we hover over, it turns red. Click it, goes away. Pretty straightforward. We have extend. Extend is also a handy one. So let's say that we had a shape like this and we wanted this line to go here. The easiest way to do that is to just click on extend, hover over it, and it extends the line. And it works pretty much anywhere you want. Alright, next tool, break. So let's say we had something like this, and I want to keep this and this, but I want them to be their own separate line. So what I mean by that is right now, if I click on it, the whole thing is highlighted. Same for here. I want these two pieces to be their own. So let's break those lines. Come to break, and you'll notice that as soon as we touch the line, it automatically detects where it's going to break. So we can break those two, and now we have two lines independent of each other. You can select them individually, but they're still attached to that triangle, which is just a fusion thing. Our next one is we're going to look at is offset. We're going to, well, like I said before, we'll do sketch scale later. So let's say that we have a rectangle, but it can be a circle, it can be a line. So let's get a line, and let's get a circle. It can also be an arc, doesn't matter. So offset just lets us create another line offset. So if I click on it, I can drag it if I want. I can drag it out, I can drag it in, or I can come down here and I can specify 0.25, 0.25, and if I want it to be the other way, negative 0.25, and it goes the opposite direction. And you'll notice over here we have chain selection. So what that means is if I click on one with that chain selected, click on one, they all get selected, anyone that's touching it. If I don't select chain, I just click on the one and it lets me offset just that one. So it's kind of handy if you want to do just one or if you want to do all of them. And of course, it works on circles. And it works on lines. And it'll work on arcs and various other geometry as well. So very handy for creating certain shapes without having to draw another rectangular circle. Alright, so our next one's going to be mirror. So let's say we had some geometry. I'll just draw two lines like this. Let's say I wanted to mirror that over. It's just like when you want to fold a piece of paper, you have at the edge that you're going to fold it down, that you're going to crease. That's how we're going to mirror it along a similar line. So we need to create a mirror line to start. A line that it's going to mirror. If we wanted the ends to touch, let me just select the end here and just draw out a line. Doesn't matter. I'm going to turn it into a construction line because I like, just so I know that it's not part of my drawing. Then go down to mirror. So we have our mirror palette here. It wants me to select the objects to mirror, this one and this one. It wants to select the mirror line, select this one, and we get our mirrored shape. Don't forget, you need to hit OK to keep it. And there we go. A mirrored object. The last two we're going to touch editing tools is going to be circular pattern, well, just patterns in general, and the sketch dimension. So there's two different patterns. There's circular pattern, which is kind of nice. So it's going to be in a circle. We need a center point. So let's draw, let's say we want to draw a flange. So let's say we had a flange that had a 1-inch diameter. And then we'll offset this flange by, let's say, 1.5 inches, 1.5. Alright, then we got to put bolt holes around it. So, how would we want to do this? We'll make this our construction line. Let's trim here and here, and we'll make it a construction line. And then we're going to put a circle right in the middle, and we'll say they're 1/2 inch for 1/2 inch bolts. Alright, so what we want to do, and let's get rid of the constraints. Let's get rid of these dimensions because they're just kind of annoying. You can get rid of dimensions just by clicking on them and deleting. So what I want to do is I want to copy this all the way around. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to go to Sketch, Circular Pattern, and first objects to make a pattern with is going to be this one. A circular pattern is also known as a ring in other programs, by the way. Wants a center point. We're going to select the center of our flange, and it automatically picks whatever the default is. Right now there's 3 of them. Let's say we want 6 bolts, so that it automatically puts them around. That's because it's on full, so a full 360 degrees. We could change this to be an angle, so right now it's set to 180, so it puts them all just on half of the flange. We could change that to whatever we want, but we're going to keep it at full. Okay, and the last thing we kind of want to look at as this suppress. So right now they all show up. You can suppress some of them by clicking on that, and then you can check away. So let's say we didn't want these two for some reason, you can uncheck them, and then they just kind of disappear. But we'll bring them back. And the other thing that's interesting is how there's symmetric. And have a look at when we do symmetric. Because we have 6 objects, it can't really do symmetry. But if we knock it down to 5, notice how there's 2 on this side and 2 on that side. It has nothing to do with the angle. It's just, well, it does have to do with the angle, but it evens it out. 2 on this side, 2 on that side. If we change it to full, then they spread out equally. So that's how to do a circular pattern. Hit OK to accept. There you go, a flange. Last one is rectangular pattern. So let's say that we were going to build some sort of holder for drill bits. Let's say we want it to be 2 inches by 6 inches, and we wanted to put a bunch of circles in here. I'm not going to get too in depth with the spacing, but let's say I want a circle. I don't want a circle there. I want a circle, say there, 0.5, and then hit OK. And I want 3 rows this way and 7 that way. I could draw them all out, but that's kind of boring. So what we'll do is we'll do a rectangular pattern. So first thing we want to do is select our object, and it wants it in what direction. And we can pull it out in the directions we want. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can select a line to give it a direction. So we'll select that way, but we can just drag it out anyway. Now we need to specify a few things. Suppress is the same thing as circular. If you want to deselect some of these, you can. You've got different kinds of spacing. You can space them, or you can go by the extent. Won't get too deep in that, but I'll show you an example of both. We'll leave it at extent, and we'll do, as I said, 7 in that direction, and I want 3 the other way. And distance, we'll do 2 inches. Well, we'll enter some numbers. Let's see how it looks. So we don't want that much going in that direction. So let's do 1 inch. 1.25 maybe. 1.25. That's not too bad. And then this direction, well, that's not going to work. We want to do 3 inches. Nah, let's do 5. There we go, a little bit better. So the spacing's evened out. So that's the gist of how to do it. If we change from extent to spacing, we can specify the distance in between objects rather than the entirety. So if I make the distance in between objects to be 1 inch in each direction, you can see that it spreads it out, and there's going to be 1 inch in each direction. And you might want to specify the distance in between versus the distance from one end to the other. So we'll go back to the other way. 1.25. I think that's what we had. Oh, sorry. Well, 1.25. The other thing, of course, is direction type. You can change it to be in one direction or symmetric, and you'll notice that it's going to put equal numbers on either side, just like before. One direction is what we want. And that looks good. So the last thing we're going to cover here is sketch dimension. And this is probably one of the handiest things that I like about Fusion. If I want to just draw something, let's say I wanted to draw basically an L, for example, I could just lay out a basic L just like this, and I could come over here and just grab off of that. There we go. I could just get it down roughly really quickly, and then what I can do is I can come down and I can specify my dimensions. So let's say I know I want this to be exactly 3.5 inches. Just click on it, drag it out, 3.5, and enter. And now that's constrained to 3.5. Okay, I cannot grab this. I can move this around. I can change this dimension and this dimension, but this still stays 3 inches, and that's awesome. It always stays 3. I can also press D to dimensions. So D, let's make this 1.625, and now that's going to be fully constrained. And so I can't change that dimension, nor can I change this dimension. But I can still change this dimension. And let's make this one 1 inch. So now I can grab that. I can't change that. Can't change that. I can still change this one though. So there's still one thing I can change. Let's make this 2 inches. And there we go. So now everything is constrained. I can't change anything. And that's pretty cool. So dimensions are so nice to change. And if I want to change, let's change this. Now notice that if I change this, it lets me know that it's constrained, everything is set so that you can't move anything or change anything, and by doing this we can affect that. So unfortunately it won't let me change that unless I modify something else, because I've already specified this to be 1 inch, so this has to be 2.5 inches to equal 3.5. However, we should be able to change this now because I deleted that constraint. Now I can change this to be 3.75, and that changes everything. Now I should not be able to, if I try to change that, it lets me know that it's already constrained. You can't do that. Got to delete this one first or change this one. So that's dimensions. And stay tuned for tutorial on project and sketch scale. Thanks for watching.